Welcome everybody to the second episode of Beer with the Boss. Today it's Friday. Last time it's a Thursday. Kind of a long week, at least for me. Do you feel tired too?
Yeah, I do feel tired, man. I do feel tired. Welcome everybody. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, I mean it's a long week, but to be honest, sometimes I like these long weeks because then at the end, when you actually open up a beer and it's cold, you feel like you earned it. And yeah, this week definitely feels like we earned it. So yeah. So speaking of beers, in this beer with the boss, I'm not going to open one up because I actually came and I promise there's a reason for that. I came to my in-laws city, which is a city in southern Brazil called Blumenau. If you haven't heard of Blumenau before and you're listening to this, please Google it because you're not going to imagine. You wouldn't be able to believe that this is a city in Brazil because it looks like I forget that region, but it looks like a really southern German town. And this weekend they have a big beer festival. So yeah, I'm saving myself because with my in-laws and with my fiance, we're going to go to the beer festival later, and I'll have my beer there. But what are you drinking today?
Yeah, enjoyment. But yeah, so I wasn't able to leave my basement today, so but the week was very hard. But yeah, I was able to get a beer on the fridge, so I am drinking a Samuel Adams today. So it's a U.S. beer from Boston. I like a little bit. How can I say? A sweet. There's a sweet flavor to the end of this. It's good. It's good. It's called. I think it was born as like a small brewery, but then they grew a lot. So now it's a good lager one. I like it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I remember when I went to visit my family in Boston. Like any good Irish family, we've got some cousins over there in Boston. We went to the Samuel Adams brewery. Really cool a day trip.
You
A
see,
thing once.
you find a way to involve your like beer is all related to Irish people, man. You do the best one, Guinness, and then you find out ways to. This is beer. Beer is, I don't think Germans invented it, or they did not invent it. Actually, they were the Egyptians, right, who invented the beer, right?
The Egyptians and then the Czechs. They got some really nice recipes down, and then yeah, the Germans and the Irish have been perfecting it ever since.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. So the Czechs was
oh,
before
cool.
the Germans.
I'm not too sure, but it's just that like, I mean, for every conversation that's out there about German uh, beer prowess and Irish too, we have to include the Czechs too because their beer drinking history and beer making history is just really to that level, at least in Europe
Oh, that's
too.
good. I didn't know that.
You know. So let's jump right in. So I've got two questions for you today that have been on my mind. The first one is we're a consulting company that doesn't necessarily focus on just one cloud provider. For the most part, we're kind of between AWS and GCP. We have dabbled a little bit in Azure too, especially since you're in Virginia and there's a lot of uh, government institutions and companies that have like strict
FedRAMP and
that Azure helps a lot.
yeah, FedRAMP and Yeast and all those standards that they have to follow. Yeah, and those
Yeah.
Microsoft it's one of the players who kind of like to like no they follow a lot of those rules because they are a bigger software provider for the government. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
Microsoft also in this region.
But what I was mostly wondering is, when you think of these three big cloud providers, what kind of like strengths and weaknesses comes to your head when evaluating each one, and like what kind of like projects are they better suited for? And also, additionally, when a new client comes to us, are you like deep down hoping that they already work with one cloud provider over another? In other words, do you have any preferences?
Yeah, so it is like it is like okay, we have to be like we're better by ourselves, right? We try to be as agnostic as possible in a way that we are more inclined those days to, oh, if you follow the CNCF, which is the Cloud Foundation best practices and tools, we we basically can running any cloud. So we today we are more inclined to do this. So even the Azure experience was based on we running Kubernetes clusters and moving uh, containers and things like that. So it's not like a Azure experience, but a cloud native experience. So as Webera, we try to push clients to do to do this, right? To help them building in a way that they can be cloud independent, so they don't have vendor locking, they don't have to pay whatever price Amazon wants to charge by some service, so Google wants to try to charge for another service. So it gives them the flexibility to select whatever vendor they want, and even if they have a really very intensive workflow that requires a big machine that would be worth to run on one data center, they still can do by running Kubernetes there and running. So we are more leading this. But on preference, like I mentioned on the previous episode, I started as an AWS customer on the cloud side, on the at least on the infrastructure side, and as Google on the workspace, on the office automation space. So I kind of bring this to together, let's say, right? And then it's more like if you are a, a Google workspace client, right? It's kind of easy to set up the authentication, everything with Google Cloud. So um, I don't see any problems to do that. And then on kind of Amazon space, if you are a Microsoft client, or if you have like a long way on the cloud, it's kind of preferable. So and then you have Microsoft, right? And then there is like how can I say, conspiracy theories, right, on the market that, like, let's say if you were using Google Cloud, Google is looking at what you're doing, and they may be launching a product that's comparable to yours. The same conspiracy theories there is about AWS. Although what I most see those companies doing is that if you have a good product in a space, they went down and buy you. Except if you are Elastic and Mongo and those open source companies that, like Amazon, basically replicate their products on their services. And uh, so if you are, let's say, in an infrastructure product, I would not recommend you to go with Amazon, because if you are successful, they will end up you offering your product as a service of their own. So that happened to many companies. But if you are a end user product, like a customer product, I don't see any issues with going to Amazon, and you have a lot of let's say experienced engineers on the market, so make it easier to find people to work with you. Their documentation is very good. Their support is good. They can help you in many cases. So I would say if you are a customer in the customer in the B2C area, you'll be fine. You're running on AWS. If you are not B2C, but like, but and that's my opinion, right? But if you are building infrastructure software, like you see many of those companies, like you see Elastic, Mongo, Redis. There were open core companies. I know they have their open software, anyone can do whatever, but it's kind of not a good idea to do what Amazon does with them. Like they even
Yeah.
like even Elastic, they create another product based on their code, and then yeah. So, but that's my
So
opinion.
when you say when you're like talking about like the by Amazon absorbing products or services that are running on Amazon itself, are you kind of like referring to the fact that Amazon like might acquire the companies, or they just fully replicate the service without?
Infrastructure they fully
Uh,
replicate without even like, and if you see their contributions to open source, it's like it's not as big as any other, even Microsoft or Google. They have huge contributions to open source, and then Amazon, while Amazon's, oh, we open, but it's kind of, we open but it's not open, or we just run on our infrastructure, it's all
yeah,
customizable, you have to customize everything. So it is I mean, Amazon is one of the is I think is one of it's one of the biggest companies in US, one of the three. They keep fighting between Apple, Amazon, which one is the biggest one, at least on stocks. But they are not. How can I say? They're not. They don't have any. They never had. Google had, doesn't have anymore. The idea of what's called don't be evil, right? Amazon never had on any place.
yeah,
Never
yeah.
had.
That,
No,
that wasn't their motto.
never. It
Okay.
was like,
It's interesting that you're saying that, because to be honest, I'd never thought of it kind of that way. Of course, because yeah, I suppose it's a little bit different if you're considering which uh, cloud provider to use. Say, for example, if your service is or if your product is an infrastructure product, but usually I'm just trying thinking like on our day to day work. It's not so much those kind of clients that we help as much. It's usually people with or companies with um, their own platforms or their own SaaS offerings, and I suppose maybe that we would then have like a different conversation for those type of workloads, for those type of products, right?
right, right. That's as I mentioned, right? If you are a more customer, like an end user, or making a product to business that are not technical, like you're making a platform for health or education or technology, there's no competition with that. So Amazon will not create like suddenly launch well, at least for now, they don't have any like education platform or something like that that will.
Yeah,
But you see this happen. Like an example, I think Zoom was one of the companies that is one of the biggest deals from Oracle. Like an example, Oracle Cloud, right? And they didn't select Amazon because Amazon has Chime and other products that directly compete with Zoom, and also that apply to um, to Google, right? The Google has Hangout. So
yeah,
like Zoom, which is a competitor,
yeah,
they okay, we cannot use those guys who make like they're almost like Chinese conglomerates or Japanese conglomerates who make from boats to rockets, right? So in technology, Google and Amazon they make literally from boats to rockets. So it's kind of hard to, if you have an infrastructure product, use them. And that's also a reminder, like if you, an example, how deep you wanted to innovate, right? So if you, an example, there's some friends of mine that like, okay, they are microsecond transactions with stock exchange. So you can't do this on the cloud, you have to do somewhere else. Or if you're like how deep your innovation is or how deep your work is going, right? So it's the same with us, right? Oh, I can use Hadoop, no, Heroku platform or some Firebase platform from Google,
yeah,
and use everything kind of automated, right? So you have an application running in minutes. Okay, but does that application has enough can be enough customized to make your business right. Do you can you connect like I think for the longer time I don't know if it's still the case, but I don't think you can fix an IP address on some of those serverless code platforms, which some companies is a requirement to have a fixed IP address. Maybe you have a security restriction, a government restriction, or even you want to make sure that specific APIs that you're providing are just accessible for one customer, and you can't do those things, or your customer will have always this.
Yeah.
So it all depends on and that's another thing. Like even if it's like Google or Amazon, they have uh, probably Amazon is in the hundreds, and Google is in almost there in services that they provide, right? So you have
Yeah.
things from literally a VM, which how they started, to now Amazon having uh, satellite bases, right? You can run a satellite using their infrastructure, or Google has, and I think Amazon, I think all of them have also. You can have your own private 5G network by running in the cloud, so you can connect your instance to a private 5G network, which is only you. So they're they're um, the idea of the SaaS, the everything as a service, right? The AaaS, like you can have
Hmm.
your network, your 5G, your satellites, everything basically is an API those days. And
Yeah.
that allows you to do great innovation, right? You can launch a
Mm.
Twitter probably in a day. You can have the same platform as Twitter. You not have as many users because, as you know, innovation is invention plus commercialization, right? You have to sell that thing. You just see you have like the new social media network here in US, which is through social that's pushed uh, by Trump, by
I just saw that today.
yeah.
Yeah. Then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's been launched for like months, and there's not many users. So it is not easy to make it happen, like to do the innovation part. It's like to the commercialization is a big hurdle. So those platforms definitely, like Google and Amazon, they help you um, get a lot of things faster than in the past. Just as we mentioned last time, right? In the past, you had to go, like if you're launching a company, right? You have to go buy a server, rent a hacking a data center, cable the machine stack, and then you have, okay, I have a machine to run. Now I go and deploy the application or the OS, and then you deploy it. So it was too much. Like now you can have minutes to have all of this ready. So an example, you can get one idea that I had in the past is like to build a small startup that will do like your company launch a startup in 5 minutes, but in a way that you have like because those days when we also sell Google Workspaces, right? And then you can have Chromebooks, which now they are very powerful those days, and even play video games and everything. But I remember the idea was like when we're thinking about physical offices, right? We could have Google network, Google Wi-Fi, like for a small office with 10 people. You could install three of those things, uh, 10 laptops, and have the whole network set up in literally an hour or so. Like even the laptops connected to Google Workspace. So even if you think about those days today, you can have like even if you need the physical thing, like the laptop and everything installed, it's everything much easier those days than were because of the cloud, right? The cloud help. So in a way, my answer is to you. to is like uh, the hard part is figure out uh, what you wanna do, right? Then both clouds and any cloud can help you uh, do whatever you want. And if I would recommend one thing is try to be as independent from them as possible in a way that you'll be cloud native and can run on whatever place. Because
Interesting.
yeah, that's like living those days, right? If you are cloud independent, it's actually easier to run with them because like Amazon, Google, they offer like if you need edge locations, you can run your containers. They're independent of the cloud. They are born outside of the cloud. You can run on edge locations. Like an example, you have let's say you create an app that is to sell hot dogs on a stadium, like a friend of me had. You can deploy that container in a edge 5G location that's close to the game that's happening, that will deliver a higher quality services to the people that are there, and you can do that with containers. So it's not more like it's how good you be your service here for the people. It's like you have many, they have they have features that they can allow you to do anything you want. You just have to figure out what you want to do.
Which is, yeah, sometimes easier said than done, right?
Right.
To know, what was it, the Simon Sinek circle, that he says that a lot of people don't know why they do things, but kind of granting that a lot of people know what exactly they're doing. But yeah, maybe sometimes they don't even know that. They don't even know the most important thing, what they're doing, and how to do it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to change gears a little bit, relating back to something that you said earlier when you mentioned that, oh yeah, but at least Amazon at the moment isn't in the education space, and that just ties super well with the next question that I wanted to ask you, which is that for a lot of people, certifications in the tech space. Well, for some people, it's kind of like a controversial subject. They don't think they're useful, or maybe they put too much uh, kind of emphasis on them. I personally find them really, really informative. I like to take some time as much as possible to try to get some. At the moment, I'm studying for the SysOps associate certification. It's an AWS cert. But I just wanted to ask you, from the perspective of a boss, from the perspective of a potential employer, how much weight do you put on certifications when looking at potential hires?
So let's say, um, like you mentioned, at Webera, right? The why thing, right? Uh, since the beginning, I'm a fan of Simulsinic, right? So I have this when we developed the mission vision of the company, it was like, yeah, we have to know why we're doing this, right? And then um, the mission, our mission, and there is another book from him that I forgot the name now, but it's about the infinity of the business and not the mindset of infinite mindset. And then when I was building about WebAir, right, you think about like the mission is to make technology ubiquitous, right, which is somehow what Apple and other companies do, that technology has to be part of our lives without bothering us. So, and then the vision, which is what we are executing right now, which is our 10 years plan, is we build technology for innovators, right? So, in that perspective, what I'm trying to looking for people, and we have cases in the past where people give up on the interview, like, oh, I don't wanna talk to you. I received too many no's. I don't have the technology, the knowledge, the technical expertise. and or people say wherever they have some restrictions on technical expertise, and at Weber we don't really look at the technical expertise, but we look at the ability of the person to execute, right? So did the person execute in their lives, or is able to execute, is capable of handling, like, how can I say, like, take care of their own tasks and move forward. It was like it's like, I think Elon Musk was talking about colleges, right? Go even further than, it's like college is not a proof that you you know something. It's a proof that you can do your chores, right? You can
Yeah.
executed something that doesn't make any sense, and you still can do it, right? Because probably many people will never use again what they many of the things they learn in college. But
Okay.
that's like, but then we're better. We try to, like, we have a long life learning. We motivate people to learn all the time, right? So training, certifications, and everything, because not having a certification, not having a college or not, doesn't mean that you don't have to study forever, right? Technology is something that the only way to be successful is if you study every day. It's not just some days. It's every day. It's not an accountant, not an accountant work, which the rules, not that they don't change, they change, but they're very uh, consolidate. Let's say our technology is not consolidated, right? Things that we are doing days did not even exist 10 years ago. So, but yeah, that's one hand. That's on Webera side, right? So if it's like a certification for me, it's like, okay, this guy can study, can handle, can do work, can. It's like it's telling me that he has some value, right? Because it's not, some certifications are not easy. Uh, but then we also look at the ability to execute. That's one of the main points, because we're building technology for innovators, so we have to be able to execute. And then, but on the consulting side, sometimes because people don't know our ability as a company, right? And that happened a few times already, where we are competing with the other business, and they say, okay, oh, but this company does, they have this certificate, there's people certificate. I was like, yeah, we have to, so we have to send it like in a competition and comparing with another company. I don't personally like when that happens, but happens, is part of the business. So some
Yeah, I know what you mean.
some business will look into and will maybe decide based on that. But as you was a part of one, right? We, even with other companies showing up certifications and everything, we are able to execute more than companies, which is part of our values, right? We value execution more than, and of course, sometimes you keep executing and you forget to do the certifications, but it's part of it's part of the game. But yeah, does that answer?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. No, it does answer my question. Yeah, because I think personally at Webera we have a really nice balance in which no one, especially at the very beginning, even at the entrance, even through the interview process, you're not you don't have an automatic no if you don't have any certifications or anything, and at the same time they're not demonized either. It's like, no, no, you only have to show us the projects that you've done. I think there's a healthy balance, and it's always like a funny topic because yeah, the market does have an interesting relationship with certifications. Sometimes when a potential client doesn't, of course, why would they know what a company is necessarily capable of simply by showing a plan in a meeting? They'll lean back on certifications, and sometimes they might even compare. potential service providers on the number of certifications that the staff holds. And yeah, so that's kind of a weird situation to be put in. But what I do know is that from um, the the perspective of the professional who's taking them, I've always found them to be very informative, because even with kind of areas in which I think I've been exposed to a good few things, and I think that yeah, I execute those tasks on a day-to-day basis. Just going through those courses, be it video courses or going through the documentation, you always pick up new things, and the, they're not always going to be things that you're going to necessarily implement the next day at work. But yeah, they definitely add to the kind of backlog of kind of puzzle pieces that over the years, I suppose, they start kind of like clicking into place. So yeah, so thanks for that. I I know you're a busy guy, but today it's me. I'm going to have to say goodbye. My in-laws and my fiance, they're already getting ready. We're going to shoot off
All right.
pretty soon to the Blumenau Beer Festival. But well, thanks for your conversation today.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you so much. Enjoy your beers.
Thanks a million. Will do. Okay.
Okay.
Catch you next week.
Till next week.